The rivalry between Millwall and West Ham United is one of the longest-standing and most bitter in English football. The two teams, then known as Millwall Athletic and Thames Ironworks, both originated in the East End of London, and were located less than 3 miles apart. They first played each other in the 1899–1900 FA Cup. The match was historically known as the Dockers Derby, as both sets of supporters were predominantly dockers at shipyards on either side of the River Thames. Consequently, each set of fans worked for rival firms who were competing for the same business. This intensified the tension between the teams. Added to this was the fact that Millwall workers had a large contingent of Scottish migrants, so that's why the club play in Scottish blue. In 1904, West Ham moved to the Berlin ground, which was then part of Essex until a London boundary change in 1965. In 1910, Millwall moved across the River Thames to the Den, New Cross in southeast London, and the teams were no longer East London neighbours. Both sides have relocated since, but remain just under 4 miles apart. Millwall moved to the New Den in Bermondsey in 1993 and West Ham to the London Stadium in Stratford in 2016. Millwall and West Ham have played each other 99 times competitively. Millwall have won 38, West Ham 34, and 27 have ended in a draw. Before the First World War, the teams met 60 times in just 16 years, mostly in the Southern and Western football leagues. They have played a total of 39 times in league and cup competition since 1916. The teams have usually competed in different divisions, spending only 12 seasons in the same tier of the Football League. Even so, the derbies have retained their passion and both sets of supporters still consider the other club their main rival. They last played against each other in the 2011-12 Championship. As of the 2023-24 season, West Ham play in the Premier League and Millwall play in the Championship, the tier below. The rivalry between the teams is deeply embedded in British football hooliganism lore and culture, and has been depicted in books and films that focus specifically on the animosity between the club's two hooligan firms, the Intercity firm and the Millwall Bushwackers. Football hooliganism reached its height in the 1970s and 80s. West Ham's Intercity firm and the Millwall Bushwackers firm were at the forefront of the trouble, not just against each other, but against the police and firms associated with other football teams. In 1972, the two clubs played each other in a testimonial match for Millwall defender Harry Cripps, who began his career at West Ham. The game was marred by intense fighting between the two clubs' hooligan firms, both inside and outside the ground. 4 years later, a Millwall supporter, Ian Pratt, died at New Cross railway station after falling out of a train during a fight with some West Ham fans. After the incident, West Ham hooligans constructed the chant, "West Ham boys, we've got brains, we throw Millwall under trains." Millwall fans waited patiently for 2 years for revenge, until West Ham were relegated to the second division. Prior to their next meeting with the Hammers on the 7th of October 1978, leaflets were distributed at Millwall's home matches bearing the words, "A West Ham fan must die to revenge him." The police responded with an unprecedented show of force for the game at Upton Park, which West Ham won 3-0. Some 500 police officers controlled the crowd, carrying out extensive searches and strict segregation. 6 officers were injured and 70 people were arrested after fans clashed in the street. Numerous weapons were also seized. The Lions' 2-1 home league victory over the Hammers on 14 May 1979 ended a run of 10 games without a win against their rivals, which stretched over 46 years, back to 1933. Pop Robson had given West Ham a half-time lead, but second-half goals from Dave Mehmet and Nicky Chatterton gave Millwall the win. On 4 October 1986, over 7 years since the clubs last played each other, 19-year-old West Ham fan Terry Burns was stabbed to death by a group of Millwall supporters on Villiers Street, next to Embankment Tube Station. A 2-1 victory in the Full Members' Cup on the 10th of November 1987 gave Millwall their first win at Upton Park in 73 years. Alan Dickens gave the Hammers the lead in the second half, but 2 goals in 3 minutes from Teddy Sheringham and Tony Cascarino assured Millwall of their first away win in the derby since 1914. As of their last game in 2012, it stands as the Lions' last away win in the fixture. In the 2009-10 season, Millwall were drawn away to West Ham in the League Cup, which was the first meeting between the teams in the competition. The police cut the number of tickets given to travelling Millwall fans from 3,000 to 1,500, sparking anger among supporters. Millwall warned police of a higher probability of trouble. Violence marred the match before, during and after kick-off, with multiple pitch invasions by Hammers supporters. Lions fan Alan Baker was stabbed outside the ground and suffered a punctured lung, but made a full recovery. He was one of 20 people injured. The police concluded that the violence, because of its large scale, was organised beforehand. The Football Association brought misconduct charges against both clubs. A disciplinary tribunal fined West Ham £115,000 for failing to ensure that their fans did not enter the field of play and refrained from violent, threatening, obscene and provocative behaviour, but concluded that the allegations against Millwall of violent, racist behaviour and throwing missiles or dangerous objects onto the pitch had not been proved. Fixtures between Millwall and West Ham United are currently categorised by the Metropolitan Police as Category C games which carry a high risk of disorder amongst supporters. For the 2011-12 season, the Metropolitan Police implemented London-wide operations to ensure that the games passed by without any incident. Several thousand stewards also kept a lid on the trouble inside the grounds. The teams have not met since those matches in 2011-12 season. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to help our channel grow and give you bigger, better content.